There is a bottle sitting under almost every kitchen sink in America. A simple brown plastic bottle, a standard 3% solution, $1.50 at the grocery store, sometimes less. Most folks grab it once a year when somebody scrapes a knee, pour a little on, watch it fizz, and put it back. That is the beginning and the end of their relationship with it. What they do not know is that the same fizzing reaction that cleans a cut is working on bacteria, mold spores, stains, and odors all through the house on surfaces they scrub every week with products that cost $10, $15, $20 a bottle and do not work half as well. I want to show you 7 things I tried with hydrogen peroxide around my own home. Some I had done before and knew well. Some were new to me, and I want to be honest with you about which ones surprised me and which ones fell a little short of what I had heard. That matters more to me than making everything sound wonderful. The part that is going to sit with you, I think, is how much money quietly leaves a household every year paying for cleaners, stain removers, mold sprays, and laundry treatments when one brown bottle handles most of it for pennies. People have been keeping hydrogen peroxide in the house for a long time, but most of them are not using it right. That is not their fault. Nobody told them what it actually does or how to let it work. Understanding that one thing changes every single result you will get from here on. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizer. That is the scientific word, and you do not need to hold on to it. What it means in plain language is this. When it touches organic material, bacteria, mold, fungus, old stains from food or sweat or blood, it breaks that material apart at a level you cannot see. The fizzing is the reaction happening. That fizzing is doing the work. And here is the part that most people get backwards. The fizzing needs time to finish. You cannot spray it on, wipe it off in 30 seconds, and expect results. You really have to let it sit. Contact time is absolutely everything. That is the one principle behind every single use I am going to walk you through. People have been wiping surfaces with it and calling it useless because they did not give it 2 minutes, let alone 10. The product is not failing them. The habit is. Hello, my name is Annie Hemingway. I spent the better part of 50 years keeping a farmhouse clean with whatever was on hand: vinegar, baking soda, salt, lemon, and yes, hydrogen peroxide, which my mother kept in the medicine cabinet and the cleaning shelf both, because she knew it pulled double duty. I grew up on a homestead in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Appalachia, and the women who raised me did not have the luxury of a different spray bottle for every surface. They needed things that worked on more than one problem. Hydrogen peroxide worked. It still does. If the kind of knowledge I share here is useful to you, I hope you will subscribe. There is a whole body of old homestead know-how I have been putting out here, and it only keeps going if people find it worth their time. And tell me in the comments, have you ever used hydrogen peroxide for anything besides first aid? Tell me what you tried and whether it worked. Drop your state or your part of the country too, if you like. I read every single comment. Now, the grout. Use number 1, whitening those yellowed grout lines. Walk into any bathroom that is 5 years old or older and crouch down. Look at the grout lines between the tiles on the floor. What color are they supposed to be? White probably, or close to it. What color are they? Gray, tan, in some spots, almost brown. That discoloration is not dirt in the way most people think of dirt. It is mineral buildup, soap residue, dead skin cells, and in the damp spots, the very beginning stages of mold taking hold. Regular mopping does not touch it because the mop just passes over the surface. The problem is living down in the pores of the grout itself. So here is exactly what I did. I poured plain 3% hydrogen peroxide dyes, the kind in the brown bottle, nothing special, directly onto the grout lines and let it sit for 10 full minutes. No scrubbing yet, just sitting. I could see it fizzing in the darker spots, which told me it had something to react with. After 10 minutes, I took an old toothbrush and worked it along the lines with short, firm strokes. Then I rinsed with warm water and let it dry. The result was not a miracle. I want to be clear about that. Grout that has been dark for 10 years is not going to come back to bright white in one treatment, but the improvement was real and it was immediate. 2 shades lighter in most places, and the spots that had that faint pinkish tinge, which is a mold colony, not a stain, came clean almost entirely. The cost of that treatment was just about nothing. $1.50 buys enough hydrogen peroxide to do every bathroom floor in a house twice over. If your grout is deeply and permanently stained from years of neglect, peroxide alone will not fix it. Grout that has been sealed improperly or that has cracked and taken in water over a long period may need to be replaced. But as a regular monthly treatment to keep grout from getting to that point in the first place, there is nothing cheaper and very little that works better. The same bottle that did the floor was still more than 3/4 full. That is the thing about hydrogen peroxide. It goes a long way when you stop treating it as a specialty product and start treating it as a household staple. The women in our hollow kept it on the shelf the same way they kept vinegar and salt, not for one job, for whatever needed doing. Use number 1. Killing mold and mildew on bathroom caulk and tile. Look at the caulk line where your bathtub meets the wall. Run your eye along it slowly. If you see gray or black specks or a general darkening that did not used to be there, that is mold. Not mildew in the vague sense people use the word. Actual mold colonies living in the silicone, feeding on soap residue and skin cells in a warm, wet room that never fully dries out. The spray bottles sold for this problem are not cheap. A name brand mold and mildew remover runs $6 to $10, and most of them are chlorine bleach thinned with water and thickened with a gel agent to make it cling. Bleach does kill surface mold, that part is true. What it does not do well is penetrate into porous material, and caulk, even silicone caulk, has enough give in its surface that mold roots itself below what bleach can reach in a 30-second contact time. Hydrogen peroxide works differently. It penetrates. It oxidizes the mold structure rather than just bleaching the color out of it. That distinction matters because bleach can make black mold look white while leaving the colony alive underneath. Peroxide breaks the colony down. Here is what I did. I soaked a few strips of old cotton cloth, the kind torn from a worn-out dish towel, in undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide and laid them directly on the caulk line. I pressed them down so they were sitting in full contact with the surface and left them there for 30 minutes. Then I lifted them off, took that same old toothbrush, worked along the caulk, and rinsed clean. The black spots faded significantly. The pink mold, which comes back faster than the black in a bathroom that gets daily use, was gone entirely. 2 treatments spaced a week apart, and the caulk line looked the way it did when it was new. Now, I want to be straight with you about this because it matters. Hydrogen peroxide is not a permanent solution to a bathroom mold problem. If your bathroom does not have proper ventilation, if the exhaust fan is weak or broken or was never run after showers, the mold will come back. It will always come back. The peroxide treatment buys you time and keeps the surface clean, but the root cause is moisture sitting in a room with nowhere to go. Fix the ventilation. Run the fan for 20 minutes after every shower. Crack a window when the weather allows. The peroxide is maintenance, not a cure for a structural dampness problem. And if the mold has gone behind the caulk into the wall itself, if you press on the wall near the tub and it gives slightly, or if the caulk is peeling away from the surface, that is a job that goes past what any cleaner can fix. Pull the caulk, let the surface dry for 2 full days, and re-caulk. Do not put a cleaning solution on top of a water damage problem and call it handled. That is the honest version. A $6 spray bottle will not tell you that. Use number 3. Brightening and deodorizing a cutting board. My grandmother kept 2 cutting boards her whole life. One for meat, one for everything else. Both were plain wood, both were decades old, and both were cleaner than most plastic boards I have seen in modern kitchens. The reason was not that she scrubbed harder. The reason was salt and acid and the occasional treatment with something strong enough to reach into the grain of the wood. Plastic cutting boards look clean after a rinse, but actually they are not. The knife marks that accumulate over time are not just scratches. They are channels where bacteria settle and where no sponge can reach. Wood, treated properly, is naturally more resistant. But wood or plastic, the grain and the cuts need something that penetrates. Here's the method to use. Sprinkle a generous layer of coarse salt across the surface of the cutting board. Then pour hydrogen peroxide over the salt until it is damp and you can see it fizzing. Let that sit for 5 minutes. The salt acts as a mild abrasive and draws moisture out of the surface while the peroxide works into the cuts and grain. After 5 minutes, scrub with a stiff brush, rinse thoroughly with warm water, and stand the board upright to dry completely, never flat, because flat traps moisture underneath. The odor result was what surprised me most. A board that had held garlic and onion and raw chicken over the course of a week came out smelling like nothing at all. It is not like cleaner. It doesn't smell like chemicals either. It came out smelling like nothing at all. That is the goal. That is what a properly treated surface smells like. Cost. The salt is already in your kitchen. The peroxide is $1.50. One treatment handles a board and still leaves the bottle nearly full. Use number 4 is clearing up cloudy glassware. This one came from a neighbor of mine, a woman whose mother had kept house in the same county in the mountains for her whole life and passed along small useful things the way the older women always did. She told me about it and I was skeptical, so I tried it carefully before passing it along. Cloudy glassware, the kind that comes out of the dishwasher looking foggy no matter how many times you run it, is usually caused by one of 2 things, and the difference between them determines whether peroxide will help. The first cause is hard water mineral deposits, calcium and magnesium from the water supply that film onto the glass over time. The second cause is etching, which is actual microscopic scratching of the glass surface from being washed too many times in water that is too hot or with detergent that is too harsh. Hydrogen peroxide helps with mineral deposits. It does not help with etching. However, etching is permanent. If your glassware has a rainbow shimmer in certain light, or if the cloudiness is uneven and almost iridescent, that is etching and no cleaning solution will fix it. But if the cloudiness is a flat white film, even and dull, that is almost certainly mineral buildup and peroxide will move it. Fill a basin or a clean sink with warm water, not hot, and add half a cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide. Submerge the glasses and let them soak for 20 minutes. Then wipe with a soft cloth and rinse. For stubborn buildup, a second soak the following day gets the rest. I soaked 4 glasses that had been foggy for the better part of a year. 3 came out clear enough that I could read the print on a page through them. The 4th, on closer inspection in good light, had the iridescent shimmer that told me the cloudiness there was not mineral. It was etching, and it was staying. 3 out of 4 is not a failure. It is the real-world outcome. It is the honest result, and knowing the difference between the 2 problems saves you time. Store-brand glass rinse agents at the hardware store run $4 to $6 and need to be refilled regularly. Half a cup of peroxide from a bottle that cost $1.50 does the same job for mineral buildup and does it without putting rinse aid chemicals on surfaces you drink from. My mother's spring house stayed cool and dry year-round, and the jars she kept in there, glass every one of them, stayed clear their whole working lives. She rinsed them with water that had a splash of white vinegar in it, let them air dry upside down, and never had a cloudy jar. The principle is the same, what you put on the surface and whether you let it breathe. It was not complicated then, and it is not complicated now. Use number 5, disinfecting and freshening the kitchen sponge. Pick up your kitchen sponge right now and smell it. Go ahead, do it now. If it has been in use for more than 4 or 5 days, what you are smelling is a bacterial colony. A sponge is warm, it stays damp, it picks up food particles every time it touches a surface, and it sits out in the open between uses. Those are exactly the conditions bacteria need to multiply. The smell is not just unpleasant. It means the sponge you are using to wipe down your counter and your stovetop is spreading bacteria every time you use it. The common answer is to throw the sponge away and buy a new one. A pack of kitchen sponges runs $3 to $5, and most households go through one a week without thinking about it. Over a year, that is somewhere between $150 and $260 on sponges alone. The less common answer, and the one that actually works, is to treat the sponge you have. Here is what I did. I filled a small bowl with enough 3% hydrogen peroxide to fully submerge the sponge, dropped it in, and let it soak for 5 full minutes. The fizzing started almost immediately and was heavy in the first 2 minutes, which told me the peroxide had a great deal to react with. After 5 minutes, I squeezed the sponge out thoroughly, rinsed it under warm running water, squeezed it again, and stood it on its edge to dry. The smell was gone, not reduced, gone. The sponge came out smelling like nothing, which is exactly what a clean sponge should smell like. It was clean, truly clean. It is the honest result. I will tell you the limit of this honestly. Hydrogen peroxide treatment extends the useful life of a sponge, but it does not extend it forever. A sponge that is physically falling apart, that has torn or compressed to the point where it no longer holds its shape, needs to go. And a sponge that has been used to wipe up raw meat juices should be treated that same day, not left to sit overnight before the soak. The sooner after heavy use you treat it, the better the result. Leave it 3 days and you are fighting a much larger colony than if you had soaked it the same evening. The cost of this method is negligible. 1 bowl, 1 sponge, 5 minutes, and a small pour from a bottle that still has most of its contents left. My mother never threw away a cleaning cloth until it was worn to threads. She washed them, she boiled them when something particularly unpleasant had been cleaned up, and she hung them in the sun to finish the job. The sun is a disinfectant, too. Ultraviolet light kills bacteria on a surface in a way that feels almost too simple to believe, but it is real and it is free. The peroxide soak is the indoor version of that same principle. Use number 6, lifting stains from white laundry. White laundry is where hydrogen peroxide has been quietly doing good work for longer than most people realize, and where it gets replaced in most homes by something far more aggressive than the job requires. Chlorine bleach is the standard answer for stained white fabric. It works, it really does. Nobody is going to tell you it does not work, but it weakens cotton fibers over time with repeated use. It cannot go near anything with a hint of color without risking damage. It requires careful handling, and the smell it leaves in fabric, that sharp chemical smell that never quite rinses out fully, is something a lot of people have simply accepted as the price of clean whites. It is not the only option. Hydrogen peroxide at 3% is a gentler oxidizer than bleach. It lifts stains by breaking apart the organic molecules that cause discoloration, the same mechanism, just less aggressive. For yellowing around collar and underarm areas, for light food stains, for the general dullness that white fabric picks up over time from repeated washing, it works well without eating at the fabric the way bleach does. Here is the method I used on a white cotton pillowcase that had yellowed at the edges from months of use. I filled a basin with cold water. Cold, not warm, because heat sets protein stains rather than releasing them, and added 1 full cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide. I submerged the pillowcase and let it soak for 30 minutes. Then I wrung it out and ran it through a normal wash cycle as usual, nothing added, and dried it in the sun when the weather allowed. The yellowing at the edges faded by about 2/3 in one treatment. A second soak a week later brought it the rest of the way. The fabric felt the same as before, no stiffness, no thinning, no chemical smell. It came out looking the way it did when it was new. For stubborn stains, a grass stain, a blood stain caught early, a food stain from something with deep color like berries, pour a small amount of undiluted peroxide directly onto the stain, let it sit for 10 minutes, then blot and wash cold. Be careful. Do not rub the stain. Rubbing pushes it deeper into the fibers. Let the peroxide do the work. The cost of a cup of hydrogen peroxide for a full soak is just a few cents. A name brand stain remover spray runs $4 to $8 and needs replacing every few weeks in an active household. Over a year, the difference in what you spend is real money, the kind of money that adds up quietly in a budget without anyone noticing until they stop and look. Use number 7. Treating a dingy, musty-smelling mattress. A mattress is something people clean almost never and think about even less. It gets a fitted sheet, and the fitted sheet gets washed, and people figure that covers it. The mattress itself sits there for years, accumulating sweat, dead skin cells, dust, and in humid climates or damp bedrooms, the beginning of mold and mildew working up from the inside of the foam. The smell that tells you something has gone wrong in a mattress is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is just a faint staleness in the bedroom that you notice after you have been away for a few days and come home with fresh air still in your nose. Sometimes the smell is even stronger than that. Either way, most people do not know what to do about it short of buying a new mattress, and mattresses are not cheap. Here is what I did. I stripped the bed completely. I poured 3% hydrogen peroxide into a clean spray bottle, no dilution, and misted the entire surface of the mattress lightly and evenly, not soaking wet, damp. The point is surface contact, and if you soak a mattress, you create a new moisture problem worse than the one you are solving. After misting, I sprinkled a generous and even layer of baking soda across the whole surface, pressing it gently in with my palm, and left the mattress to sit uncovered for at least 3 hours. The baking soda draws moisture out as the peroxide dries and absorbs the odors that the oxidizing reaction releases. After 3 hours, I vacuumed the baking soda off thoroughly, flipped the mattress, and repeated the process on the other side. Then I let it air out in a room with the windows open for the rest of the afternoon before putting the bedding back on. The result was a mattress that smelled clean, not perfumed, not treated. Clean, the way bedding smells when it has been outside in the air. Now I want to scale this out because a one-time treatment is useful, but a habit is better. Hydrogen peroxide works across the whole house on the same basic logic. Contact time, surface penetration, organic material broken down and rinsed or vacuumed away. A single bottle under the sink handles the grout, the caulk, the cutting board, the sponge, the laundry, and the mattress. One material, bought once for less than $2, covering problems that would otherwise mean a different product for every room. The old Homestead way was never about having the most things. It was about having the right few things and knowing every job they could do. My grandmother's cleaning shelf had white vinegar, baking soda, salt, lemon, wood ash, and hydrogen peroxide. That was most of it. She kept a clean house for 60 years on those 6 materials and did not spend a significant part of her household budget on cleaners. Not because she was frugal to the point of hardship, because she knew the tools she had were already good enough. Now here's the part I want you to sit with for a moment. A standard grocery store cleaning aisle carries dozens of products. A different spray for the bathroom, a different one for the kitchen, a glass cleaner, a floor cleaner, a stain remover, a fabric refresher, a mold spray, a grout pen, a mattress deodorizer. Each one priced between $4 and $15, each one requiring replacement when it runs out. The average household in this country spends somewhere between $500 and $800 a year on cleaning products. That is a documented figure, not something I am inventing to make a point. The materials those products are built from, the actual active ingredients, cost a fraction of what is on the label. What you are paying for is the packaging, the fragrance, the marketing, the shelf space, and the convenience of not having to think about what actually does the work. There is no ill intent in it. No single person decided to keep you from knowing that a bottle of hydrogen peroxide handles 8 different household jobs for $1.50. It is simpler than that. There is no profit in that bottle. There never was. And so nobody built an advertising campaign around telling you about it. The women who raised me in the mountain hollow knew what worked because they had to. They did not have the money to pay for ignorance. And what they knew, they passed down. That is what I am doing here. So here is what I want you to do this week. Go to the grocery store or the drugstore, whichever is closer, and pick up a bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide. Brown bottle, plain label. It will cost you somewhere between $1 and $2. If you already have one under the sink, check the date on the bottom. Hydrogen peroxide loses its potency over time, especially once opened. If the bottle has been sitting there for more than a year, The solution may have broken down enough that it will not fizz properly on contact. Go ahead and buy a fresh one. The old bottle can go down the drain. It degrades to water and oxygen and causes no harm. Here is the full list of what that one bottle can do and exactly how you should use it. For the grout in your bathroom or kitchen floor, pour it directly onto the lines and let it sit for 10 full minutes before scrubbing with an old toothbrush. Rinse with warm water. Do this once a month and your grout will not have a chance to go dark. For mold on bathroom caulk, soak strips of old cotton cloth in undiluted peroxide and lay them on the affected area for 30 minutes. Scrub with a toothbrush, rinse, and dry the surface. Fix the ventilation in that room or it will come back regardless of what you put on it. For the cutting board, sprinkle coarse salt across the surface. Pour peroxide over until it fizzes, wait 5 minutes, scrub with a stiff brush, and stand the board upright to dry, never flat. For cloudy glassware with a flat white film, not a rainbow shimmer, which is etching and cannot be fixed, soak the glasses in a basin of warm water with half a cup of peroxide for 20 minutes, then wipe and rinse. For the kitchen sponge, submerge it in a bowl of straight peroxide for 5 minutes, squeeze it out, rinse well, and stand it on its edge to dry. Do this every 3 to 4 days and the sponge will last twice as long. For white laundry that has yellowed or dulled, soak the fabric in cold water with 1 full cup of peroxide for 30 minutes, then wash as normal. For individual stains, pour undiluted peroxide directly on the spot, wait 10 minutes, blot, do not rub, and wash cold. For the mattress, mist the surface lightly with undiluted peroxide from a spray bottle, cover with a generous layer of baking soda, press it gently in, and leave it for 3 hours. Vacuum thoroughly, flip and repeat. Do this twice a year, and the mattress will stay clean and odor-free without any product beyond what you already have in the house. That is 7 jobs, 1 bottle, less than $2. Keep the bottle somewhere you will actually use it. Not behind 3 other things in the cabinet under the sink where it gets forgotten, on the shelf at eye level, or on the bathroom counter in an amber glass bottle if you want to keep it tidy. Hydrogen peroxide breaks down faster when exposed to light, which is why the store sells it in that brown plastic bottle. Keep it in something that blocks the light and it will stay active longer. If you have found these methods useful, I hope you will subscribe. Everything I share here comes from a lifetime of keeping a home the old way, and there is a great deal more of it. It costs you nothing to stay, and there is always something practical coming next. Tell me in the comments, have you ever tried hydrogen peroxide for anything on this list, and did it work the way you expected? Or did something surprise you the way a few of these surprised me? Tell me what you found. I read every comment, and the ones where people share what worked in their own homes are the ones I look forward to most. The next thing I want to talk about is white vinegar, specifically the uses that almost nobody knows about, the ones that go far beyond cleaning and into food preservation and pest deterrents and things the old homesteaders used it for that have no equivalent on a modern store shelf. If hydrogen peroxide impressed you, vinegar is going to make you genuinely angry about how little you were told. There is a particular kind of knowledge that does not come with a price tag and does not get advertised and does not show up on the cleaning aisle with a bright label telling you what it does. It lives in the memory of people who learn by doing in households that could not afford to guess wrong. My mother learned it from her mother. Her mother learned it from hers. The chain only breaks when nobody passes it along. You have it now. Put it to work.